the body of Jesus Christ. Okay? That principle in philosophy is called the prime matter. In change, natural changes, accidental changes and the chemical changes, or substantial changes, there is continuity. There is continuum. One thing comes from the other, although now it looks different. But it comes from the other. There's that continuation of matter, prime matter. In transubstantiation, that doesn't happen. And that's why we don't see any physical change. Okay? So, the new heavens and the new earth are anticipated. The real action in the liturgy in which we are all supposed to participate is the action of God Himself. Okay, explaining active participation. If I do, I cannot include you in my action. Like if I start dancing right now, I can't say, okay, now all of you are now included in my dancing. I'm not a divine being. I can't incorporate your humanity into mine. Okay? But Jesus is a divine person. So because of His divinity, He can incorporate all of us into His humanity. Because He is a divine being, He is capable of doing that. So when He is acting, He can call all of us, invite all of us to be involved in what He does. And what He does in the Eucharistic liturgy is something He only can do. None of us can do it. In other words, none of us can offer sacrifice acceptable to the Father. None of us is God who became man. Okay? So we can't do what Jesus does on the cross. We can't do His passion. We can't do His death. We can't do His resurrection. It's only He Himself who can do this. Now, because He's a divine being, a person calling us, so He invites all of us to participate in that which He only can do. And because He does, all of us can participate in what He does. So at that moment of the Eucharistic prayer is the real moment of true, full, conscious, active participation. Because all of us are involved. All of us are doing with Christ by virtue of our baptism, baptismal priesthood, the general priesthood of all the baptized. We truly offer with Him through the hands of the priest. So, oftentimes we think that at the Eucharistic prayer, the priest is now doing his own thing. So when he is done, then we'll get up and get involved. In the Eucharistic prayer, that's when we actually offer with Christ. We are there to offer. We are not there to attend Mass. We're not there to do it. We're there to offer sacrifice. And at that moment, in the Eucharistic prayer, we are actually offering. So in seeming silence, that's when we are truly full, conscious, and actively participating. That's when we are actually doing what Christ told us to do. Do this, and we are doing it. So we have to take those moments very seriously. On the cross, what was Jesus actually doing on the cross? In terms of, like, if you look at it from the human point of view, what was He doing on the cross? Other people were doing something. Who's dying? Who's getting killed? Seemingly He wasn't doing much Himself. But that's when He accomplished everything. So this idea of whatever we are doing, whatever, we have really to change it liturgically. Okay? It has our consciousness, our activity must be guided. And our activity is essentially here now very spiritual, meaning we enter into the Spirit of Jesus Christ. The Holy Spirit has already lifted us up. And now He is doing in us, with us, for us. Okay, so that's what we are going to explain here. So, the real action in the liturgy in which we are all supposed to participate is the action of God Himself. This is what is new and distinctive about Christian liturgy, unlike pagan liturgies. It is the priest who is doing everything, okay? Because there is no God there, okay? But in the Christian liturgy, Catholic liturgy, it is the priest who is doing it. The priest is one. The priest is Jesus Christ. All other priests are simply sharers in His priesthood. He communicates sacred power, but the priesthood is basically rightly belongs to Him. Okay? So, God Himself acts and does what is essential. So at the Last Supper, what we call the Last Supper, when Jesus did, He called them, do this. He told them, do this. I have done, now you can do, and I command you to do. If I didn't do, you wouldn't be able to do anything. You are entering into my sacrifice. I am inviting you to do what I do. And you are able to do it because I do. Okay? So God Himself acts and does what is essential. He inaugurates the new creation, makes Himself accessible to us so that through the things of the earth, through our gifts, we can communicate with Him in a personal way. But how can we participate, have a part in His action? Okay? Are not God and man completely incommensurable? Can man, the finite and sinful one, cooperate with God, the infinite and holy one? How can we participate in what God does? Yes, we can, precisely because God Himself has become man. This is the importance of the incarnation. Okay? That's what we can because God has become man. Okay? Become body. And here again and again, He comes through His body to us who live in the body. The whole event of the incarnation, cross, resurrection, and second coming is present as the way by which God draws man into cooperation with Himself. This is expressed in the liturgy in the fact that the petition for acceptance is part of the oratio. Okay? So we are going to see this later on. That after consecration, we say the mystery of faith. Then we say, save us, Savior of the world, or the other ones, okay? Then after that we say, go therefore, acknowledging the mystery right before us. And then after the therefore, the living sacrifice, then we pray to God, okay, that we too may become offerings to Him. That Christ, the offerer and the offering, may make us also offerings to God the Father. Okay? Because He came for us and for our salvation. He's present here and now that I may be saved. But in order for me to be saved, to receive Him into my life, I have to be transformed as well. I have to be changed. Yes, we're going to see that later on when we get the interesting prayer. But that's what we are hinting at here. This is expressed in the liturgy in the fact that the petition for acceptance is part of the prayer. True, the sacrifice of the Logos, meaning the Word of God, is accepted already and forever. Okay? So, if God the Father has already accepted the sacrifice of Christ once and for all, as we hear in Hebrews, then why do we offer the sacrifice which is already acceptable once and for all? Accepted once and for all. Why do we offer? Okay? So, but we must still pray. This is the reason why we offer. But we, in time and space, must still pray for it to become our sacrifice. In other words, I have to enter into the once and for all. Otherwise, if I don't enter into it, I am outside of it. It has no value for me. So we must pray for it to become our sacrifice, that we ourselves may be transformed into the Word, the Logos, conformed to the Word, and so be made true, the true body of Jesus Christ. That is the issue, and that is what we have to pray for. This petition itself is a way into the incarnation and the resurrection, the path that we take in the wayfaring state of our existence. This is real action. In this prayerful approach to participation, there is no difference between priest and the people of God. What's the meaning of lay? Lay people. What are lay people? You often hear, okay, like when you're talking, let's say, to a physicist or a chemist or whoever they are, okay, you tell them, okay, tell me that in a layman's language. Meaning what? Meaning? A layman's language. So we shouldn't think of lay people in that sense. That's why I'm aware of that word lay. Okay? Because if we transfer that, okay, from a scientist, okay, speak to me in a layman's language, meaning that I'm not very conversant with what you're saying, so simplify it. So if we say lay people, there's a tendency for lay people to think, oh, we are the dumb ones, so we have to. Okay, you see that, okay? So when you have to understand the word we translate for lay people, it is Greek laos. Laos means people, the person. So when we say lay people, it's like saying people. Okay? So it's always better to call lay people the people of God, or the faithful. Okay? Because lay people, you just lay there and do nothing. The priest does everything. You see? Okay? But that's not what it means in the liturgical church sense. It means the people of God. It means the faithful. Okay? Not the ignorant ones. Okay? No, we're just lay people. Okay? So really, we are not called to be holy. Okay? We were just lay. We can, if we are lay, then we can lazy around. Okay? Okay. So this is what the Pope is going to assist. So in this real action, in the Eucharistic prayer, when God is doing and inviting everybody to participate in what He does, at that moment there's no difference between priest and the people of God, the faithful. We have all been invited by Christ for redemption, and we are all fully, actively participating consciously in the mystery of our salvation. Okay, so through addressing the oratio, the prayer to the Lord, in the name of the church, and at its core, speaking with the very eye of Jesus, that is something that can be done only through sacramental empowerment, only by a ministerial priest. Okay? So we acknowledge that. But participation in that which no human being does, that which the Lord Himself and only He can do, that is equally for everyone. Do you understand the difference? The priest speaks with the eye of Jesus because of sacramental ordination. But participating in what Jesus, God, can do is equally for everyone. It doesn't mean that a priest is called to participate in a higher way than the other people. We are all participating in this for our sanctification. Okay? So, our level of sanctity through this sacrifice will be determined by our level of full, conscious, active participation. If I'm a priest, okay, and I'm just going through the motions, okay, you are receiving more in terms of participation than I do. Because I'm not conscious or aware. I'm not attentive to what I'm doing. Okay? So everyone is equal at that moment. It is a question of being united to the Lord and thus becoming one in spirit with Him. The point is that ultimately the difference between the Actio Christi, the action of Christ, and our own action is done away with. Because by His invitation, His action becomes our action. Okay? Again, explaining the meaning of liturgy. I explained this before, but let's explain it again. What is liturgy?
The worship of Christ.
Jesus Christ is the liturgia, the liturgist, okay, who ministers in the heavenly sanctuary. He's the liturgist. He's the one who offers. But his liturgy, in the liturgy, becomes our liturgy, okay? So liturgy is the crest our head. Crest our head by, this is very important again, by His invitation or command, whatever it is, okay? So it's always important to understand liturgy in that double sense. Because usually you hear people say, well, liturgy is the work of the people. Okay? Work of the people, okay? Or simply the worship through Christ. But it is essentially liturgy is the work of Jesus Christ. He is the one who offers perfect worship and praise to God the Father. And then He tells us do. He invites us to participate in that which He only can do. And then by invitation, His liturgy becomes our liturgy. His worship becomes ours. Okay? So, we can only do because He does. We can't do without Him. So that's what we are explaining here. Okay? So, the point is that ultimately the difference between the action of Christ and our own action is done away with. There is only one action which is at the same time His and ours. Ours because we have become one body and one spirit with Him. Okay. So the uniqueness of the Eucharistic liturgy lies precisely in the fact that God Himself is acting and that we are drawn into that action of God. God is acting and we're drawn into the action of God. Everything else is therefore secondary. Okay? So let's take a break. We'll continue this. Okay.